Ruthless pirate was stunned by the human boy's bravery. What he did next shook the galaxy. HFY story in the dark edges of the Andromedan Reach. Where suns burned dim and law meant nothing, one name brought fear to every world: Crag Thule. The pirate king of the void, his fleet black, sharp and merciless raided trade routes, burned colonies and left entire planets empty. The Galactic Navy called him a monster. The slaves he freed called him a savior. But most beings knew only one thing when Crag Thule came. Survival was a coin toss. One cold morning, his fleet appeared over a small, forgotten mining world, Voronine. It was a human colony, barely alive after years of war and hunger. The miners worked deep below the surface, digging rare plasma ore, trying to keep their generators running. They had no defenses, no ships, only old tools and courage. When Crag's dreadnought, the Bloodfang, descended from the clouds, its shadow covered the entire settlement. Engines roared like thunder. Dust and wind tore through the streets. Then came the landing crafts, dark, fanged, and heavy with pirates armed to the teeth. The colonists ran. Mothers pulled children into shelters. Old miners hid in tunnels, but one boy did not run. His name was Eli Ward, 17 years old, thin, covered in soot, but with eyes sharp as steel. He had lost his father to pirates years ago, his mother to disease, and he had nothing left, nothing but anger and a small detonator in his hand. When Crag Thule himself stepped out of his ship, the ground seemed to tremble. He was a towering alien of gray-blue skin, a scar splitting one of his tusks. His armor was made from the bones of fallen beasts. His voice rolled like thunder as he shouted, "Bring me your ore, humans. Refuse, and I'll take your lives instead." Eli walked forward from the crowd. Dust swirled around him. He stared straight up at the pirate lord and said, "You can take our ore, but not our freedom." The pirates laughed. Crag sneered. "And what will you do, boy?" Eli raised the detonator and pressed the button. The ground erupted. The mining tunnels exploded with blinding fire, throwing metal, dust, and screams into the air. Several pirate ships went up in flames. The shockwave tore through the colony, shaking the dreadnought itself. Crag's guards rushed forward, but Eli didn't run. He stood there, face covered in soot, breathing heavily. When the fire cleared, Crag Thule stared at the boy who had destroyed half his landing crew. For the first time in years, the warlord didn't feel rage. He felt respect. "Take him," Crag said. "Alive." Hours later, Eli woke up inside a cold metal cell. The hum of engines filled the air. Through the bars, he saw stars drifting past. The ship was in orbit. He tried to move, but his wrists were bound by glowing cuffs. The door hissed open. Crag entered, his huge form blocking the light. "You're brave, human," he said, "or foolish?" "I don't fear you," Eli replied quietly. Crag grunted, stepping closer. "I burned hundreds of colonies like yours. Not one soul ever stood before me." "Why didn't you run?" "Because running never saved anyone." The warlord studied him for a long time. Something flickered in his yellow eyes of memory. A young child, long gone, who had once defied him in the same way. He turned away. "You'll stay alive." "For now." But the universe had other plans. That night, alarms screamed through the dreadnought. The deck shook. A fleet of Galactic Navy ships dropped out of hyperspace, firing plasma torpedoes. Blue fire streaked across the void, slamming into the Bloodfang shields. "Admiral Vera sends his greetings." A voice thundered over the comms. "Prepare to be annihilated." Crag growled and stormed to the bridge. "Battle stations! Return fire." The ship's cannons roared. Explosions blossomed in space. Fighters screamed past the windows. But the enemy was too many. Shield generators flickered. Hull breaches spread, and the chaos Eli's cell door burst open, hit by debris. Smoke filled the corridor. He crawled out coughing and grabbed a fallen blaster. The deck tilted as gravity failed for a moment. Through the chaos, he saw injured pirates trying to seal bulkheads and carry wounded crew. They weren't monsters now. They were terrified beings fighting to survive. Without thinking, Eli ran to help them. He used his small frame to crawl into vents and fix jammed doors, to carry wounded soldiers to safety. Somewhere in the smoke, he saw Crag himself, holding up a broken beam to free a trapped crewman. Their eyes met. "You should have escaped," Crag shouted. Eli fired at an incoming drone instead. "I'm not leaving anyone to die." Crag barked a laugh. "You're insane, boy." "Maybe." Eli yelled back, "But I'm right here with you." Then came the biggest blast of all. A plasma torpedo hit the Bloodfang's reactor core. The explosion ripped through the ship like a living beast. Fire rained down from the ceiling. Crag grabbed Eli and threw him behind a console as shrapnel tore through the air. "We're losing power," shouted one of Crag's officers. "Divert energy to shields." Crag roared. "All ships, retreat." But the engines were failing. The dreadnought was dying. Eli crawled to a console and began typing furiously. He had studied mining systems all his life. This was just a larger one. "I can reroute the power," he shouted. Crag frowned. You're just a... trust me." For a moment the warlord hesitated. Then he nodded. Together, alien warlord and human boy worked side by side, surrounded by explosions and alarms. Eli rerouted energy flows while Crag manually sealed ruptured conduits. Sparks flew. The bridge filled with smoke. Finally, the engines roared back to life. The Bloodfang lurched forward, breaking through the enemy line. "Jump to hyperspace," Crag commanded. A flash of white light swallowed them whole. When the ship finally slowed, they were far from the battle adrift, near a red dwarf star. The Bloodfang was damaged beyond repair, but alive. The surviving crew cheered weakly. Eli sat near a shattered viewport, watching the endless stars. His face was covered in soot, his hands trembling. Crag approached. "Silent. You could have fled," the warlord said quietly. "You could have escaped while we burned." Eli looked up. "If I had, you'd all be dead." "I couldn't do that." Crag stared at him. In that moment, the ruthless pirate who had once burned planets saw something he hadn't seen in years. "Oh." He reached into his armor and pulled out a small metal insignia shaped like a fonk, the mark of his fleet. "Take this," he said. "It means power, fear, and freedom. It belonged to me. Now it belongs to you." Eli hesitated. "Why give this to me?" "Because," Crag said slowly, "you reminded me what courage looks like." The boy accepted it, holding it tightly. Crag turned to the stars. "This galaxy is dying," he said. "Maybe it's time to change that." Weeks later, rumors began to spread across the galaxy. The Bloodfang had been seen again, but it no longer attacked colonies. Instead, it raided slavers, warlords, and corrupt fleets. It freed prisoners, armed rebels, and disappeared before the Navy could respond. The pirate's banner once feared was now a symbol of resistance. People began whispering of a new force, the Crimson Rebellion. Some said it was led by Crag Thule himself. Others said it was the human boy who had tamed the monster. But the truth was stranger, in a hidden base on a distant moon. Crag and Eli stood together before a growing army of humans and aliens alike. Fighters, smugglers, and soldiers all united for one cause. To end the endless wars, we will fight not for conquest, Crag declared, but for balance. Eli raised the insignia high. For every world that was silenced, we will make them hear again. The crowd roared. Then the alarm sounded again. A scout ran in, eyes wide with fear. "Commander, we've detected something massive. It's not the Navy. It's something else." Crag frowned. On screen, the holoprojector flickered. Across the void, a shadow emerged, an alien armada bigger than any fleet in known space. Their ships blacker than the void, marked with symbols no one recognized. Eli stepped forward, voice shaking. "Who are they?" Crag's face hardened. "They are not from this galaxy." The ships moved closer, silent and vast. Eli turned to the warlord. "What do we do?" Crag's tusks glinted in the red light. "We fight," he said. "Together?" Outside, The stars flared as the first plasma beam fired across space. Slicing through the dark, like a blade of light, the galaxy was about to change forever. And it all began with one human boy who refused to bow, and one ruthless pirate who remembered how to hope. The sound of sirens, heavy breathing, and engines powering up fills the background. The camera pans over the rebel base, preparing for battle. The screen cuts to black as a deep alien voice echoes through. Comes, "We have found them." In the cold darkness between stars, legends are born from blood and fire. And none were more feared than Captain Vorn Drask, the pirate lord of the shattered moons. His warships ruled the Andros Belt, a region full of wrecked colonies and drifting ghosts from the long humans' Arthian War. Vorn was not a soldier. He was a scavenger of war, a killer of survivors. He looted what the armies left behind, taking ships, weapons, and slaves. Entire fleets vanished when he appeared. But behind the armor and his burning red eyes, there was something else: a silence, a wound that even he never spoke of. One day, a weak signal reached his ship. The Iron Maw. It was a human distress call coming from a ruined mining outpost named K-17. Located near the border of Zarthian space, the transmission was short, filled with static and screams. Vorn sat in his dark throne on the bridge, surrounded by shadows and smoke. "An abandoned outpost," he said. "Send a squad. Take what's left." But when his lieutenant, a thin alien named Korga, hesitated and said, "The place is cursed, Captain. No survivors ever leave," Vorn grinned. "Then I'll see it myself." The Iron Maw descended through a storm of ash and debris. Fire streaked the sky as the pirate crew landed among broken towers and burning metal. The air smelled of rust and death. Bodies of soldiers, human and alien, lay scattered. Still clutching weapons, Vorn walked ahead, his armor reflecting the glow of flames. His boots crushed bones as he stepped through the ruins. But then, through the smoke, he saw movement. A boy, barely 16, bloodied, holding a small plasma detonator. He stood alone in front of a broken bunker, shaking but refusing to step back. "Who are you?" Vorn demanded. The boy's voice trembled but didn't break. "My name is Callan Reese, and if you come closer, we all die." The pirates laughed. Vorn smiled under his helmet. "You're just a child." Callan raised the detonator higher. "Maybe, but I'd rather die than be taken." The captain took one more step. The boy pressed the button. The world exploded. A chain of hidden charges erupted under the surface. Fire shot into the sky, swallowing pirate soldiers and vehicles. The shockwave threw Vorn back. His armor cracked. The outpost burned like the sun. When the smoke cleared, Vorn coughed, alive but scorched. Half his men were gone. Yet there, lying unconscious near the bunker, was the same boy. Burned, bleeding, but alive. Vorn stared at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Take him aboard." When Callan awoke, he was in a cold metal room aboard the Iron Maw. His wrists were chained. The air smelled of oil and ozone. Outside the small window, he could see stars stretching forever. The door opened. Vorn entered, tall, silent, and terrible. His armor glowed faintly red. "You destroyed my landing crew," Vorn said. "Why didn't you finish yourself too?" Callan's voice was hoarse. "Because I wanted you to see me win first." Vorn almost laughed. "You have spirit, boy. Maybe too much." Callan looked around. "Just kill me." "I don't care." Vorn leaned closer. "No, not yet. I want to know what makes a human child brave enough to face me. What are you protecting?" The boy said nothing, but soon strange things began happening aboard the Iron Maw. Systems glitched. Lights flickered. The ship's AI stuttered. Vorn's engineers found something disturbing: a signal pulsing through their mainframe, originating from the human prisoner's blood sample. When they tested it, the scanners went wild. The boy carried a nanotech virus, a relic from Earth's secret war programs. The virus was alive, adapting, searching for control. "He's a weapon," the ship's doctor said. "A human bioweapon." That night, Vorn stood over the boy's cell. "What did you do to my ship?" he growled. Callan looked up, his eyes glowing faintly blue in the dark. "I didn't do anything. It's protecting me. It knows you're dangerous." Vorn hesitated. The pirate who had burned planets now felt something he hadn't in years, unease. Then came the betrayal. While Vorn was questioning the boy, his second-in-command Korga secretly opened a transmission to the Zarthian Empire. The aliens wanted the virus too. Korga promised them the boy in exchange for command of the fleet. Hours later, the Iron Maw was surrounded by Zarthian warships. Plasma fire lit the dark. The pirate crew screamed as hulls shattered and airlocks failed. Vorn stormed onto the bridge. "Korga, you traitor!" But Korga had already armed explosives throughout the ship. "You're a relic, Captain," he sneered. "The galaxy belongs to new blood now." Boom. The first explosion tore through the lower decks. Fire burst from the vents. Vor drew his plasma sword and cut Korga down where he stood. Sparks rained across the bridge. In the chaos, Callan's cell door broke open. He stumbled into the corridor, alarms wailing around him. Pirates ran, shouting orders. Vorn saw the boy and yelled, "Get to the escape pods!" But Callan shook his head. "Not without you." Before Vorn could reply, a bomb detonated nearby, throwing them both to the ground. The corridor filled with smoke. Callan's virus activated on instinct. His eyes glowed again as panels around him began to hum with life. What are you doing?" Vorn gasped. Callan's voice sounded different, now strong, steady. "I can talk to the ship. I can make it fight back." Together, they ran to the command center. Flames licked the walls. The Iron Maw's AI came alive again, speaking in a broken female voice. "Captain?" Manual override detected. Virus synchronization at 80%. "Do it," Callan shouted. "Link me with the core." Vorn stared. "You'll die." The boy turned to him, eyes bright. "Then I'll take them with me." Before the pirate could stop him, Callan pressed his hand to the main control crystal. Energy surged through him. His veins glowed. He screamed but didn't let go. On the sensors, the Zarthian fleet suddenly flickered. Their targeting systems went blind. Their own drones turned against them. The sky outside lit up with chaos. Callan was inside the network, now hacking every ship through his nanovirus. "He was the weapon, Captain," he said weakly. "The reactor's unstable. If we channel it through hyperspace drive, we can destroy them all." Vorn's voice broke. "That will kill you." "I don't care," Callan said. "It'll end the war." Vorn's fists tightened. He had slaughtered thousands. He had burned cities. But this one boy this broken. Fearless human was ready to die to save strangers. "Then I'll die with you," Vorn said. He pulled the emergency lever. Energy roared through the ship. Lights went white. The Iron Maw became a sun. The explosion tore through the fleet like a storm. Hundreds of ships vanished in blinding light. The Zarthian invasion force was gone. Only fragments of the Iron Maw drifted in the glowing aftermath. Days later, a galactic patrol found the wreckage. Among the floating debris, they found a small escape pod. Inside it was Captain Vorn Drask, barely alive, his armor cracked. Clutching something in his hands, Callan's necklace, burned but intact. The rescuers asked what happened. Vorn only said one sentence before falling unconscious. "Human boy. Saved the stars." Months passed. The war ended abruptly after the destruction of the Zarthian fleet. The galaxy whispered legends of a super weapon that turned against its masters, and a pirate captain who disappeared into the void. Some said Vorn died from his wounds. Others said he vanished beyond the galactic rim, hunted by both humans and aliens. But then years later, something impossible happened. A new fleet appeared near the Andros Belt. Its ships were built from mixed human and alien designs. Its banner showed a symbol split in two, a fang and a star. The fleet's commander was a young man in silver armor, his eyes faintly glowing blue. He stood on the bridge, watching the stars. It was Callan Reese, alive but changed. The nanovirus had rebuilt him, He was no longer just human. "Set course for the frontier," he said. "We're going to finish what we started." His fleet jumped into hyperspace, and deep within the stars, a transmission echoed an old familiar voice. "Callan," said Captain Vorn's voice, weak but alive. "If you can hear this, they're coming. Something older than war? Prepare the galaxy." The message ended. Callan looked out into the endless black, his hand tightening on the old pirate's necklace. "I'm ready," he whispered. Outside, the stars shifted. A shadow moved among them, a new enemy, vast and silent. Watching. Cliffhanger ending for YouTube narration. Sound of distant thunder. Static from a cum channel. And then a deep alien voice whispers. For 100 years, humans and aliens fought over dying stars, ruined worlds, and the scraps of fading empires. Every system burned with hatred. Among the wreckage drifted the most feared name in the void, Zarek Vol, art commander of the warship Vortex Claw. His fleet hunted both sides. He looted human convoys and ambushed alien dreadnoughts alike. He bowed to no flag. His creed was simple. Only strength survives. But even monsters meet their match. The wreck of hopes end one night. Zarek's scanners caught a faint human distress signal from a transport ship near the dying star. Bornus 12. He expected salvage, maybe fuel, maybe slaves, so he took a small strike team to investigate. The ship was a graveyard. Its name still glowed on the broken hull, Hope's End. Bodies floated through smoke and shattered glass. The corridors were twisted, flickering with dying lights. Zarek stepped through the wreckage, his claws scraping metal. "No survivors," one of his crew said, but then movement. A noise, faint but stubborn. A human heartbeat. They followed it to the bridge. Amid the burning control panels, a boy crawled through the wreckage, blood streaking his face. He could barely breathe, but he dragged himself toward the console, clutching a small detonator. When he saw the towering alien, he didn't scream. He just whispered, "If I fall, you fall with me." Zarek's soldiers raised their weapons. The pirate smiled, a cold, cruel thing. "You threaten me, little spark?" The boy pushed the button. Boom. The blast shook the entire ship. Fire burst through the hull. Half of Zarek's soldiers were thrown off their feet. The deck caved in. But the boy was still alive, coughing, defiant, his detonator smoking. Zarek stared down at him through the flames. For the first time in years, he didn't feel anger. He felt admiration. "Take him," Zarek ordered. "Anyone who stares death in the eye deserves to live a little longer." The prisoner, the boy's name was Liam Rohn. He was 17. A human scavenger who had worked aboard Hope's End. His whole crew was dead. When he awoke in the pirate ship's infirmary, he tried to fight the guards, tried to steal a knife, tried to escape through a vent. He failed every time. Yet he never stopped trying. Zarek watched him from the command deck. The alien scales shimmered under dim red light. "He doesn't fear pain," he muttered. "He fears being forgotten." Finally, he summoned the boy. "You destroyed half my squad," Zarek said. "Why?" Liam glared up at him. "Because you were going to take everything else." Zarek grinned. "Courage from a dying species. Interesting." "I'm not dying," the boy said. "Not yet." That reply made even the pirates pause. The alliance of fire weeks passed. Zarek tried to break the boy with labor, with fear, with silence. It didn't work. Instead, Liam fixed engines, mended plasma rifles, and helped injured crew. He was clever, too clever. One night, as Zarek studied a holographic star map, Liam walked up beside him and pointed. "That's the Crimson Rift, right? You're headed there for the weapon core." The alien's eyes narrowed. "How do you know that?" Liam replied, "Because humans built it." Zarek's claws froze midair. "You lie." "I don't," Liam said. "The core was part of Earth's last defense, a device that could stop every weapon in the galaxy. It was lost when our fleets fell. For the first time, the great pirate was silent. He had spent half his life chasing legends about power hidden in the rift. Now a human child was telling him it was real. Finally, he said, "You'll take me there." Liam smirked. "You won't survive it without me." So the pirate and the human formed a fragile alliance, enemies bound by necessity. Journey through the flames there. Voyage through the Crimson Rift was a nightmare. Solar storms lashed the ships. Alien raiders ambushed them. At one point, a Zarthian warfleet cornered them near a dying moon. The Vortex Claw fought back with everything it had. Cannons thundered. Missiles carved the dark. Whole moons cracked apart. At the height of the battle, a plasma torpedo hit the bridge. Zarek's first mate was vaporized instantly. The ship caught fire. Through the chaos, Liam ran to the control board and rerouted power to the shields. "They'll break through." One crewman shouted. "Not if I blind them first," the boy answered. He fired the fusion flares manually. The blast blinded every enemy sensor for 50 seconds, enough for the pirate fleet to escape. Afterward, Zarek looked at him, smoke curling around his face. "You're insane," he said. Liam grinned. "You're welcome." From that day on, the crew began to whisper a new name for the human, the Firechild. The betrayal, but not everyone trusted him. Zarek's second lieutenant, Cortel, hated humans. He believed Liam was leading them into a trap. So, in the dark corridors of the ship, he started whispering rebellion. The night before they reached the rift, Kor set his plan in motion. He sabotaged the engines and sent a distress signal to the Galactic Navy, revealing their coordinates. When Zarek discovered the betrayal, it was too late. The Navy fleet arrived, hundreds of ships armed with antimatter warheads, raised shields. Zarek roared. Explosions lit up the stars. The hull burned. The pirate fleet was cut in half. Liam rushed to the reactor room. "We can't fight them," he shouted. "We have to jump." Zarek slammed a clawed hand on the controls. "The engines are crippled. Then I'll fix them." He crawled inside a maintenance shaft filled with fire and sparks, connecting cables with bare hands. His skin blistered, but he didn't stop. Outside, Kor tried to kill Zarek with a plasma rifle. The pirate deflected the shot with his sword and impaled his traitor through the chest. "You betrayed your own crew for nothing," Zarek hissed as the alien fell. Moments later, Liam's voice came through the comms. "Engines ready? Now or never." Zarek slammed the hyperspace lever. The ship vanished into a storm of red light. The heart of the rift, they emerged inside a colossal field of drifting debris, the remains of ancient starships and weapons, circling a dead sun. In its center pulsed a glowing sphere, a heartbeat of white energy. The weapon core. Even Zarek was silent before its power. Liam stared in awe. "That's it. The thing that could stop every war." Zarek frowned. "Or start one." They descended into the ruins aboard a small shuttle. But as soon as they approached the core, alarms blared. The weapon had defenses, automated drones older than any empire. Laser fire rained down. Zarek drew his plasma blades. Liam ducked behind cover, using a hacked datapad to shut down turrets. Sparks flew as he rewired circuits. "Faster!" Zarek roared. "I'm trying," Liam shouted back. The drones kept coming. Zarek was hit in the shoulder. Armor cracked, blood dark. He kept fighting. Finally, Liam overloaded the control hub. Now, the drones froze, then exploded. The silence after was deafening. In the middle of the wreck, the weapon core pulsed softly, waiting. Zarek limped forward. "We activated, and no one can fight again," he said. "No ships, no guns, no empires." Liam looked at him. "That's what you want, isn't it? Peace." The alien gave a small, bitter laugh. "Peace is the dream of the weak. But maybe." "I'm tired of strength," he placed his hand on the control crystal. It burned his skin, feeding on his life. Liam realized too late the core required a living sacrifice to awaken. "Stop," he shouted. Zarek smiled faintly. "Someone has to light the fire." The awakening the core came alive. Energy surged through the ruins. A shockwave of pure light burst outward, sweeping across space. Every ship, every weapon, every engine within 100 light-years shut down. The Galactic Navy fleet chasing them froze mid-battle. Power vanished from the stars. Inside the light, Zarek fell to his knees, burning. Liam caught him before he hit the ground. "Why?" the boy asked, tears cutting through soot. "Because," Zarek rasped, "you showed me. There's another way." He took off the insignia from his chest, the mark of the Pirate Lord, and pressed it into Liam's hand. "Carry it," he whispered, "and keep the fire alive." And his body dissolved into light. The core dimmed. Falling silent again, Liam was alone, drifting in the dark, holding the insignia that still glowed faintly red. The aftermath months later, the great powers signed a peace treaty. No one knew exactly why all their weapons had failed at once, but they called it the miracle of the rift. Only one ship was ever seen leaving the area, a small vessel with a single pilot. Rumors spread of a young man traveling between worlds, carrying an alien symbol and speaking of unity. Some said he could command both machines and men. His name was whispered across space. Admiral Liam Vall, the human who carried the fire of an alien pirate in his heart. Under his leadership, humans and aliens began to build something new, a fleet not for war, but for protection, a shield against whatever might come next. The final signal one night. As Liam stood alone on the bridge of his new flagship, the Dawnbreaker, a signal came through the void. It was faint, ancient, almost broken, but he knew that voice. "Liam, if you hear this, they're coming from beyond the edge." The fire was only the beginning. It was Zarek's voice. The message ended. The stars outside flickered. Space itself seemed to ripple, as if something vast was moving behind it. Liam looked at the insignia glowing on his chest. "Then we'll be ready," he whispered. He turned to his crew. "All ships, prepare for contact. No one fires unless I say so." In the distance, a colossal silhouette,